This is ABC15 Mornings.
Now at 6, the Navajo Nation hit hard by COVID-19, and now troops are on the way to support the tribe.
Also on the way is those stimulus checks. Americans are getting the first round to help with the coronavirus. When will that extra cash show up in your mailbox? We'll let you know.
Also, a lot has been put on pause during this global pandemic, but you can't stop a 100th birthday celebration. People continuing to support others from a safe distance, this time going above and beyond to show one veteran that they care. Man, these are so great. Such a unique way to celebrate. And you know that there are people coming out to support him who he may have otherwise never even met, even from that safe distance. So we're going to bring you a smile, but hopefully you already have plenty to smile about on this Easter Sunday. I'm Nohelani Graff.
And I'm Mark Thompson. Happy Easter, everyone. As you can see, I'm social distancing from home. I wish I could open the windows. I want to get a little peek outside to see what it's looking like. So I'll just trust you, Nohe, with what's actually happening out there, since I can't get over to the window right at this point.
Well, I'll tell you, Mark, if you do end up popping that window open, it's a good thing that you're wearing a jacket, because anybody who steps outside right now is going to need it. It's a gorgeous view this morning, though. Live view of the Papagos. We have very Easter egg colors in the sky with just a few lingering clouds from our rain showers that passed through various parts of the valley yesterday. But it's cooler in the Phoenix Metro. It's 53 degrees right now. There's a calm breeze about 5 miles an hour, but we have cooler temperatures in the 40s around the valley. A nice warm up is on the way, though. By 10 o'clock this morning, it'll be at 67 degrees. So if there is any way that you can get the kiddos to sleep in a little bit longer before you let them loose to search for their Easter eggs in the yard, then maybe do. By 1 o'clock this afternoon, we're much warmer, though, 76 degrees, and then warming into the upper 70s today. I'm going to talk more about that Easter Sunday forecast because we do have some breezes that will mix in. I'll show you how strong they'll get coming up in just moments.
No, hey, thank you. 6:02 now, and we want to get you caught up on those coronavirus numbers here in Arizona. There are now 3,393 confirmed cases in the state. That's an increase of 281 cases in just 24 hours. More troubling, our first double-digit death toll. 11 more people have died since we updated you yesterday morning. Altogether, 108 people in Arizona have now died from COVID-19. And the number of COVID-19 victims has now doubled. New data suggests the worst is still ahead. And we're going to check in now with ABC15's Adam Waltz. He's got more.
When you get sick from this, it is probably the worst crap you're ever going to go through your whole life.
Emergency room physician Frank Lavecchio speaking about the effects of COVID while on shift, treating patients with the virus.
I talked to him about, is it like the flu? Does it feel that bad? And they say the flu times 10.
In the last week, Arizona's death count due to COVID-19 has more than doubled, including 11 deaths in the past 24 hours. Lavecchio says Arizona's death rate of about 3% may not be accurate based on limited testing.
That has a lot to do with limiting the testing to those who are very, very sick. If we tested everyone, our denominator would increase, and it would cause the percent of people that died to go much lower.
University of Washington modeling projects Arizona's peak deaths per day to hit on April 27th at 28 COVID deaths a day. The model also projecting a dramatic escalation in deaths per day beginning tomorrow. Arizona's peak in COVID cases is expected in the next 2 weeks. Lavecchio says even when we hit our peak, it's not over.
Even though we're going to hit the peak, doesn't mean we could let up, because as you know, it's going to go up, hit the peak, and then it's going to work its way down. And 2 weeks after we hit our peak, we'll be where we are today.
And that was Adam Waltz reporting. They also say that the idea of flattening the curve, it isn't just limited to reducing the number of cases. They say it's also important to start spreading out the amount of patients who are in hospitals so they don't run out of those available supplies. You get too many people at once and they're not able to cover everyone. No hand.
Yeah, talking about dealing with a lot of patients, we told you yesterday that one of the hardest hit regions is the Navajo Nation. And now we're learning that help is on the way for them as well. The Arizona National Guard actually sharing a photo with us, and what it shows is them loading up that essential PPE, that personal protective equipment, and it is on its way to help support the tribe. There have been nearly 700 confirmed cases of coronavirus on the Navajo Nation. Just under 500 of those are right here in Arizona, and the rest are in New Mexico and Utah. 24 people have died on the nation as well as a result. Today, we are expecting to learn more details about the coronavirus in our state and give us a better picture of what this virus really looks like in our community. We're going to be learning the zip codes of confirmed cases, as well as the ages and genders of those who have passed away, and also the race and ethnicity of patients. And that's important because nationally, the virus has been hitting African Americans especially hard. Additionally, the State Department of Health Services is going to be providing daily updates now about the number of ICU beds that are available and how many are being used by coronavirus patients.
And this morning, we're learning that the Treasury Department has started sending out those stimulus checks to Americans. So some relief is on the way. Nearly 17 million people are out of work because of the coronavirus. The first round of payments have started going out to families. For many, the $1,200 will be just a little drop in the bucket. One Georgia bar, they were forced to take down bills that were stapled on its walls. You know, those that commemorate either the first payment or something special. They had to do that to start paying their own employees.
We literally had money on the walls and time on our hands, and there was not a more perfect time to give back to my people.
According to the IRS, stimulus deposits will continue in the days ahead, starting with the people who have filed tax returns for the 2018 and 2019 seasons. The distributions are part of the $2.2 trillion economic relief package that was passed by Congress in March.
Want to get you some local headlines now. 4 people need to find a new place to live after a house fire last night. This happened near 36th Street and McDowell. Fire crews tell us the Red Cross is helping that family this morning. The outside of the home looks to be intact, but the inside is gutted. Fortunately, no one was hurt, and this fire does remain under investigation.
Phoenix police investigating a shooting this morning. This happened near 19th Avenue and Buckeye Road. Investigators, they're not sharing much information with us at this point, except that someone was shot last night. No details about that victim or any possible suspects at this hour. We are hoping for an update from police a little bit later this morning.
Of course, all of you waiting to get that most accurate forecast on this Easter Sunday, and I think it is going to be a gorgeous day here in the Valley. Cooler this morning in the low 50s and even some 40s out there right now. But later this afternoon, we're going to have a great warm up on the way, a high of 78 degrees here in the Valley. You are going to notice some breezes, though, so if you do move your Easter brunch or Easter dinner outside, make sure you're hanging on to those napkins because we've got some light breezes on the way here in the Valley, 5 to 10 miles an hour later this afternoon. Up in northern Arizona, though, gustier conditions, winds about 15 to 20 miles an hour with gusts upwards of 25 miles an hour. I'm going to time this out for you and show you exactly when those winds are going to be picking up throughout the day, coming up in that full forecast in just a little bit.
All right, no, hey, thank you. Well, doctors, they are still searching for better ways to take care of patients who have tested positive. And it turns out the antibodies of recovered patients that may actually help in this situation. ABC's Shirley Chan reports.
I would say without question, it's the biggest decision I've ever had to make.
President Trump raising the possibility of reopening the country at the end of the month, saying it's his decision and his only to make. But medical experts say the timeline belongs to the virus and the importance of widespread testing. A rapid antibody test is now front and center.
Within a period of a week or so, we're going to have a rather large number of tests that are available.
But there's at least one antibody-based test already available, and some doctors have been using it to test their patients for COVID-19 since the FDA initially issued an emergency use authorization. But the feds stopped allowing doctors to use it earlier this week.
We've had to turn patients away who have been requesting our help, and it was terribly difficult. It was gut-wrenching to tell them no.
New Jersey respiratory specialist Dr. Matthew Varghese has been administering the test on his patients with coronavirus symptoms. Here's how the rapid test works. A droplet of your blood is collected into a cartridge, and in 7 minutes it can tell if you have certain antibodies, which are proteins in the immune system that develop days after someone has been infected. If you have the antibodies, it could make you immune to becoming reinfected. That means you're likely to be protected and can possibly return to your normal life. Dr. Varghese says the rapid test is just as reliable as a nasal swab test and has this message for those in charge.
Please make it available to the front line, urgent care, emergency rooms, people like me, respiratory specialists, primary care physicians. I plead with you to please let this test be CLIA-waived so that we can perform this and take care of people.
On their website, the FDA says they're pulling back on the antibody test for now because there are some out there that are unreliable and inaccurate, and that the antibody test should not be the sole basis to diagnose COVID-19.
That was ABC's Shirley Chan reporting. Now we want to balance out the tough news with some good news, and hopefully one that's going to lift your spirits on this Sunday. I want you to meet Ralph. He's 100 years young, and he is a World War II veteran. This weekend in Albuquerque, he got the birthday bash that he truly deserves, even with that stay-at-home order in place. Listen.
Him upstairs did good favors for me. I'm absolutely speechless.
So Ralph's friends organized this tailgate party, if you will, the convoy for him, and they got plenty of help from the community too. You can see that the police showed up, some Freedom Riders showed up since he's a veteran, neighbors with signs all celebrating his centennial birthday. Happy birthday, Ralph. You know, we have shared with you some of these scenes like this. And we also, of course, when someone turns 100 years old, have to know what the secret to long life is. So here was his answer.
I put 2 cherries in my Manhattan.
Not just one, there's always room for 2 or maybe even 3. So good for you, Ralph. There you go. Just so much fun to see. And if you see celebrations like this right in our own community, we'd love if you'd share them with us so that we can highlight it and send our well wishes as well. Still to come for you this morning, the pandemic might require a change of plans for those hoping to retire in the next couple of years. We're going to tell you, though, how to adjust accordingly on the other side of this break. But first, that sun is up over the valley on this Easter Sunday, and we thank you for starting it off with ABC 15 Mornings.
Welcome back, everybody. It is 6:14 on your Easter Sunday. And as COVID-19 continues to impact financial markets, a lot of people, they're worrying about their retirement savings. Newsy's Bianca Ficini explains how some Americans, they're now having to adjust their goals.
As the effects of COVID-19 spread through financial markets, investors are wondering if they should change their strategy, especially when planning for retirement.
Everyone, all of us who are lucky enough to have a retirement account, has seen it going down.
It's investors nearing retirement age who have a lot to think about, as it remains unclear how long the volatility will last and, as a result, how much more money they could lose. It's an even bigger issue for those who haven't prepared enough.
For the number of people that are undersaved, and there's no shortage of statistics pointing to a decent percentage of people in the U.S. who are undersaved for retirement as they approach it, they've had to be a little more aggressive, and that likely means that they've seen a bigger bite taken out of their current retirement savings.
Over a fifth of Americans have less than $5,000 saved, according to the latest annual survey on retirement from Northwestern Mutual. Coupled with the recent volatility, the lack of sufficient savings could mean some people will have to adjust their retirement goals. The recent increase in unemployment doesn't help either.
It's the people who have lost their jobs are the ones I'm particularly concerned about.
While the market uncertainty has led to losses, the good news is it provides an opportunity for some people to get in at a cheaper price and possibly grow their retirement funds once a turnaround begins.
If you're undersaved and you happen to have excess cash, like your bank account or something like that, provided that your day-to-day needs are covered, it would be an excellent time to slowly wade back into the marketplace, scooping up a number of quality companies at better prices than we've seen in not days or weeks, but months.
For Newsy, Bianca Ficini, outside Washington, D.C.
Let's check on that most accurate forecast for you on this Easter Sunday morning. It's a chilly start, so if the kiddos are heading outside to hunt for Easter eggs, if you were lucky enough to find any and you dyed them and left them out for the Easter bunny to hide, then they're going to need a light long sleeve as they head out the door, because it is cooler in Phoenix by 7 degrees than this time yesterday. Casa Grande and Tucson 10 degrees colder than we were 24 hours ago. Sedona just a little bit cooler too by 4 degrees. Window Rock and the Grand Canyon though are actually warmer. We don't have any freezing spots in the high country. It's still cold up there though. We're in the 30s in Flagstaff and Window Rock, as well as Heber and Cholo. Sedona starting the morning off at 43 degrees, and we've got upper 50s along our western border. But here in the valley, we've got some 40s out there this morning. We're down to 48 degrees in Maricopa, 47 in Levine, 46 in Wickenburg this morning. So it's a chilly start. We're even down to 49 in Gilbert, and it's the low 50s across the central portion of the valley, 52 in Glendale right now. Here's our warm up though. You can see out in the East Valley, live view of the Superstitions here. We still have a few clouds out in the far corners of the valley, but we have clear skies in the central portion of the valley. Those clouds are going to continue to clear out, and that's when we'll warm up pretty rapidly. So we're going to be at 63 degrees by 10 o'clock this morning, still in the upper 60s by noon. So maybe you want to move that Easter brunch outside. It'll be nice and comfortable. And then the 70s arrive, and we'll climb into the upper 70s later this afternoon, right around 4 or 5 o'clock. We're even going to stay warmer through the early evening hours. By 8 o'clock, we're still in the 70s. So it's going to be a really gorgeous evening out there with those mostly clear skies. Here's a look at those highs city by city today. A high of 79 in Levine, Goodyear, and Maricopa, as well as Chandler. Those will be the warmest spot. 78 degrees in Tempe and Mesa, as well as Gilbert. 77 in Scottsdale, Glendale, and Peoria. And the northern corners of the valley, we're looking at the low 70s. 72 in Anthem today, 71 in Cave Creek. Very similar temperatures off to our south. 70s in Safford and Tucson, upper 70s in Gila Bend, and we'll come close to 80 along our western border. In the Verde Valley area, a high of 57 in Sedona, upper 50s in Prescott as well. And north of the rim, we're staying cooler. In Flagstaff, you'll warm to just 48 degrees for today, low 50s for Heber, Cholo, and Window Rock. Part of the reason is because of the breezes that are going to kick up right around noon. We'll see those first rounds of winds across the high country and along eastern Arizona around 20 miles an hour. Here in the valley, our strongest winds are going to be right around 3 o'clock this afternoon until about 5 o'clock. Then by 10, the winds die down statewide, and then we'll see those breezes pick up again on your Monday. Up in Flagstaff also tonight and into tomorrow, that rain returns, and you could also see some snow mix in, and then you'll start to dry out Tuesday and Wednesday with temperatures staying mild all week long. Here in the valley, we've got a slight chance for rain tomorrow in the afternoon and through the evening hours, but then we dry out on Tuesday. The 80s return, and we're looking at the upper 80s by Thursday. I'll show you how long those upper 80s stick around in that 7-day forecast mark in just a little bit.
All right, no, hey, thank you so much. Well, finding a job during this quarantine, it's certainly not easy, but coming up, we're going to be talking to a career counselor who's got some great advice on how to get that resume out there, even if it's done virtually. We'll be right back.
So one of the toughest consequences of these stay-at-home and social distancing orders is job loss. Thousands of people in Arizona have had to file for unemployment. But the good news is there are still a lot of companies that are hiring right now. So Heather Livingston is a career counselor with the University of Phoenix to help us navigate this next step if you're looking for a job. Heather, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
I'm happy to be here.
Like I mentioned, there are still a lot of places that are hiring right now, but those jobs might be out of somebody's wheelhouse. So how can we fix our resume so that we can appeal to a new line of work?
So what you want to do in these situations is really de-emphasize the industry that you're looking at, and you want to focus more on the applicable skills and transferable skills that you have that maybe were really good for your first career or current career, and now you need to use them somewhere else. So one example might be a fast-paced environment or working under pressure. How can you do that in a different industry or different capacity? So focus on what you do have to offer a specific employer and not necessarily focusing on doing something completely different.
Right. So if you worked in the service industry before, maybe at a restaurant, and now you're applying for a call center job, then the common thread might be customer service.
Absolutely. Excellent customer service, communication skills, listening.
Trying to practice our own form of social distancing. We're, of course, doing this virtually, our interview, and a lot of employers are turning to that now. So what are some tips for people so that they know how to properly interview, even though you're just sitting at home looking at your computer?
Right. Well, you still want to prepare as if you were going to an on-site interview. So dress up. Dress professionally. You still are making a first impression and meeting people, so to speak. You want to get rid of any distractions. So no cell phones, no TV. I understand now that a lot of us have children at home with us, and so you want to try to make sure they are in a separate room if possible. You want to test your equipment before it's time for the interview to make sure that your computer is working properly, your audio, all of the sound, the lighting. You want to make sure that you have an appropriate background, a neutral background, and that you can be seen on camera.
The other thing that I've been chatting with people about during this time is it's very eye-opening for people of who they might currently work for, what their company's true culture is like. Have they shown you compassion during this time or not? So people may come out on the other side of this and decide, you know what, it's time for me to make a change. Or I work in a business that's really not sustainable during tough times. I need a new path. So if that's you, then what's our best way to start working on a new career choice?
You really want to do your research. You want to research the employers, their mission statement, their reputation. You really want to know what you want to do and who you want to work for, or at least what kind of company you want to work for. And you can be selective in what you apply for. You don't have to apply for anything and everything. Know what you want to do and target that.
And then that brings us right back to the beginning where you started of then tailoring your resume and looking for those common threads. All right. Wonderful, wonderful tips, Heather. Thank you so much for your time. I think this is going to help a lot of people as we all find ourselves navigating some very different waters. So I appreciate your time. Please stay healthy.
You too. Thank you.
It is 6:26 now on your Easter Sunday. Coming up on ABC 15 Mornings, celebrating from a distance how the world is changing their Easter plans this year.
Also, it's going to be a beautiful day, so maybe some of those plans include a trip outside. But we're going to catch up on the local park restrictions so you don't waste your time and get turned around.